Ruby first saw the masked figure on the Halloween night, standing across the street. But what began as a mere glimpse would soon lead Ruby into a terrifying descent into madness, as she slowly loses control of her own life. You are watching Midnight Narrative, and today's story is The Haunting Reflections. Let's start, shall we?
November 3rd, 2022. I saw her again. The madness continues to grip me, and I can't be certain if it's real or a product of my own mind. It all began on Halloween night, a mere 2 days ago. The doorbell rang, and when I answered, 2 kids dressed as Batman and Superman awaited their candy. Their costumes were charming, and I was in the midst of complimenting them when I felt an eerie pull, drawing my attention across the street. And there she stood. A sinister, shadowy figure dressed in a black, otherworldly costume that seemed to absorb the very light around it. Her entire face was concealed by a bizarre mask, and her raven black hair was cropped short. The sight sent a chill down my spine. It felt as though her presence cast a dark shadow over me, but just as quickly as it happened, one of the children called me, and I was snapped from my trance. I looked across the street again, but there was no one. The odd sensation that had settled over me persisted throughout the night. More kids came and went, but the unease remained. It was well past midnight, and I was preparing to retire for the night when an unexpected knock echoed through the silence. The last groups of trick-or-treaters had departed hours ago, and the late hour made me hesitate as I clutched the almost empty bowl of candy in my hands. I gingerly swung the door open. There she stood, her height nearly mirroring mine. She was shrouded in a long, black overcoat, and black gloves concealed her hands, leaving not an inch of skin exposed. Her mask, with its eerie, unchanging expression, cloaked her face. She extended her gloved hands as if expecting treats. I hesitantly asked, "Are you here alone?" Her masked face nodded with deliberate slowness, and I dropped a handful of candy into her awaiting palm. To mask my unease, I mustered a nervous chuckle and muttered, "Impressive costume. Happy Halloween." My voice quivered as I closed the door, unable to stand in her presence for another moment. A lingering sense of dread clung to me as I retreated into the safety of my home, leaving her outside in the dark. The next morning, I went about my usual routine. As I stood before the bathroom mirror, it happened. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her, standing just behind me in the reflection. My scream of horror echoed through the bathroom. But when I spun around, she had vanished into thin air. The fear left me trembling, but in that moment, I convinced myself that it had been a trick of the mind, a mere product of exhaustion and anxiety. But in the following 3 days, I saw her 5 more times. November 8th, 2022. Fear is consuming me with each passing day. I keep seeing her more frequently than I'd like to admit. At this point, I can't tell if I'm trapped in a waking nightmare, haunted by hallucinations, or if this is the cruel reality. It's affecting my work, making it impossible to concentrate. As the days wear on, I find myself drifting deeper into the abyss, losing my grip on reality. Yesterday, I went to get some groceries. I reached for a can of soup on a shelf, and when I turned around, I saw her standing behind the cart, just a few feet away. The sight sent me reeling, and the canned soup crashed to the floor, drawing the attention of others. I fled the store in terror. I told Trevor about the whole thing. He didn't think it was serious. He brushed it off as a passing fancy, urging me to socialize and venture out of my home office. I took his advice, going to the office for the past few days, but But even in the bustling surroundings, I felt her eyes on me, an ever-present specter. Every corner I turned, every room I entered, it felt as though she was there, lurking. November 14th, 2022. The torment had become unbearable, and I couldn't stay in the empty house any longer. For the last few days, I am staying with my parents. I took a leave of absence from work as I could no longer focus on my tasks. I have realized that these things are no mere hallucinations. I can feel her presence, a malevolence that is gradually closing in on me. She is everywhere, an unexplainable and sinister presence looming over my every waking moment. Strangely, as days turned into nights, I find myself growing numb to the relentless fear. I am beginning to experience unsettling lapses in memory, zoning out at times and having no recollection of my own actions. My parents are getting worried, they are pressing me to see a doctor. The prospect of seeing a psychiatrist does seem like a solution. Yet, I know deep down that a doctor's visit would offer no relief. Whatever this is, I know for certain that it is beyond the understanding of medicine or science. November 21st, 2022. I returned home. I was hoping that leaving this house would help me escape her sinister presence. But it became painfully clear that no physical distance could sever the tie that bound us. I have come to accept her relentless presence, and I am losing myself more and more with each passing day. I discovered an empty coffee mug resting on the table as I sat down to write in my diary. I have no recollection of making or drinking that coffee. It was as though someone else had taken up residence within my very being. Trevor called me earlier. His project got delayed, and he'd have to extend his stay in Oak Haven for a few more weeks. He said that he already told me all of this during our conversation in the morning. However, I have no memory of that call. In disbelief, I checked my phone and found a record of our conversation, spanning nearly half an hour. It left me dumbfounded. Olivia texted me, asking why I hadn't joined her at the bar. I checked our previous messages and found that I had indeed agreed to meet her. I have no recollection of these interactions. It's clear that my own actions and words are no longer under my control. The strangest part is that no one seems to notice this change. To those around me, everything appears normal, as if I am living an unaltered life. She has effectively stolen my identity. November 28th, 2022. I saw her again this morning, not as a separate figure, but as my own reflection. I looked into the mirror and saw her eerie eyes locked onto mine. My life has become a fog of forgotten days and unexplained actions. It feels as though I am a mere ghost within my own body. When I face the mirror, I can only see her. Her masked visage glaring back at me, an ever-present reminder of the bitterness that has become my companion. But no one notices the transformation, and life carries on as if nothing's amiss. The disconcerting duality of my existence continues. My work has resumed, though it is she, not I, who is now doing my tasks. Strangely, she has submitted my assignments on time, without a hitch. I opened the refrigerator, only to find it stocked with groceries that I didn't buy. She must have ventured out, taking control of my life, as I remain an unwitting passenger. It's an odd experience to feel so obsolete, as if I'm no longer needed. My life goes on, even without me, functioning seamlessly. Even my parents have ceased their relentless worry. They believe I have returned to normal, and the incessant pleas to see a doctor have faded into silence. My mother even commented on my cheerful demeanor during our last phone call, a call I have no recollection of. December 5th, 2022. Time marches on, and I remain a helpless observer in the life that was once my own. This morning, I awoke to a terrifying moment of breathlessness. Panic gripped me as I reached for my face, feeling the presence of a mask. My hands were encased in black gloves, and for an eternal second, I was no longer myself. Then, in the blink of an eye, everything returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. It was in that disorienting moment that I finally grasped the horrifying truth. Whenever I catch sight of myself in the mirror, it's not my own reflection that stares back at me, but hers. I know my time is running out. I had been consumed by worry about my husband and my parents, dreading what she might do to them once she fully takes over. However, it seems that she harbors no intention of harming them. A bittersweet relief washes over me, knowing that my loved ones will remain safe even if I no longer exist. December 9th, 2022. The past few days are completely lost to me. The last memory I can recall is writing in this diary 4 days ago. As she completes her transformation into me, I feel myself morphing into her, locked within this eerie mask that now obscures my own face. It's an inescapable prison, and I fear that this is the last time I'll ever be myself. Now that the time has come, I can't help but wonder if anyone will ever stumble upon this diary. Will they realize that I'm gone, or will she destroy the diary altogether? When she fully takes over, what will become of me? Where will I go? Will I simply be erased from existence? The answer eludes me, and I'm left with the haunting uncertainty of my fate. I reached out to Trevor, and then to my mother, not knowing if I'll ever have the chance to speak with them again. Trevor is due to return next week, and I can't help but wish for the opportunity to see him one last time. Regret wells within me, and I wish I could turn back the hands of time, undoing the night I opened the door to the sinister figure. Perhaps, in doing so, I could have spared myself from the unimaginable horrors that have befallen me.
October 31st, 2023. Halloween night had arrived, and Jenna prepared to take her young daughter, Emily, out for an evening of trick-or-treating. As they ventured out of their home, a sinister figure caught Jenna's attention. The shadowy presence stood across the street, an eerie aura enveloping her. Draped in a long black overcoat, her face concealed entirely by an unsettling mask, and her raven black hair cropped short, the figure gave a feeling of unease. Jenna couldn't shake the feeling of being watched as she passed by, sending a shiver down her spine. She dismissed it, hoping it was just a trick of the Halloween night. Hours later, as Jenna and Emily returned home, the sinister figure had vanished, providing a fleeting sense of relief. The night had progressed, and Jenna had begun to believe that her earlier unease was nothing more than a figment of her imagination. At midnight, the masked figure loomed in the doorway. Behind the mask, Ruby was bewildered. She had no memories of her previous self, of Trevor, of her parents, or anyone else. Even her name and identity were utterly erased. All she knew was that she had to knock on the door, as though it were the key to her own existence. She knocked 3 times, and the door swung open, her eyes locked onto Jenna.
You were listening to The Haunting Reflections. Subscribe to the channel for some more amazing stories. Check out our other videos, and let us know in the comments what you think. We will see you again next week.